You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello there, and welcome back to the official Deaf Crocodile Podcast here for our August episode. We are finally matching up the second title with what we announced last month. Both of these will be shipping at the end of September. Happy to reveal those and discuss some more in depth. But first, Dennis and Craig, back as usual. Thanks for coming on, gentlemen.
Oh, thanks for having us, Ryan. It's always great to see and talk with you.
It is always a good time.
Craig, you've been traveling. What's been going on in your life?
Visited my mother in Maine for her 88th birthday. And then since we were on the East Coast, we've got friends in New York, so we popped in there for a long weekend and said hello and enjoyed the sights and smells of New York in August.
I bet one of those a little more than the other.
Yeah, the sights are much better than the smells.
Amazing. I'm glad you got to spend some time away, and we're glad you're back so that we can hit some restoration, work hard. Dennis, what's new in your life?
Wow. My son came down to visit from Sacramento. My wife and I, as I may have mentioned on a previous podcast, relocated from the LA area up to our place in Northern California in Santa Cruz on the tip of the Monterey Bay. It's about 90 minutes south of San Francisco, Oakland Bay Area. And it's where my wife grew up. So Deaf Crocodile is now it's not bi-coastal because it's the same coast. But we now cover both Northern and Southern California, although our home office is still in the LA area. But now we have the satellite office in Santa Cruz, and it is really lovely up here.
Very, very different worlds, north and south on California.
Yes, it is really lovely up here. The weather is a little bit like Dublin in Ireland. If any listeners have been there, if you don't like it, just wait 5 minutes. It is kind of foggy and misty in the mornings, and now it is sunny and crystal clear and kind of breezy. And then the fog and the coastal layer rolls back in again in the late afternoon, early evening, and it tends to get kind of, cool and very crisp. Beautiful view of the stars at night, and we have 1,000-year-old redwood in our backyard. It's sort of like Jack and the Giant Beanstalk. We have this fairly small backyard and this massive sequoia right in the center of it, nice. Which is the most beautiful, non-human living being I've ever seen. And we literally hug it. We are actually tree huggers because it's so beautiful. So whenever we go away for a little trip and come back, we literally hug the tree and thank it for protecting this little hippie household here, which is actually where my wife grew up in the 70s and 80s. So
in an area close to what we talked about in a recent episode where some of the interview was filmed. Richard Bamer.
Yeah, and there is, I think we talked about this, so there is a history of some very cool films that were shot in and around Santa Cruz, probably most famously The Lost Boys, where they renamed it Santa Carla. And Up was also filmed here, I believe, and Sudden Impact, the later Dirty Harry film. And nearby in Scotts Valley, which is like 10 minutes away, Alfred Hitchcock had a home. And I think, several of his films from the 40s and 50s were kind of inspired by Northern California. Well, of course, The Birds, Bodega Bay is maybe the most famous. So,
well, Getting back to Deaf Crocodile World, since the last time we spoke, you revealed a couple reprints with some site-exclusive slipcovers for the first few hundred. Those are available now. Those are The Assassin of the Tsar. Those are Visitors from the Arcana Galaxy, and Bubble Bath. Had to check my stack to remember what that last title was. Those are arriving to people now. I wanted to check in since Craig just posted an update on low stock alerts, because I know that people aren't super used to this, but Deaf Crocodile Deluxe editions are selling out kind of quickly nowadays. We got stuff that you can't necessarily plan on waiting necessarily if you're wanting that one with the booklet and everything. So an update, fully sold out. Cathedral of New Emotions, I Married a Strange Person, The Tragedy of Man, The Treasures of Soviet Animation Volume 1, and then all of the covers of the DIFA sci-fi animated set is all gone. And then some others are getting low. Craig, do you know if Gwen in the Book of Sand is fully sold out yet?
Well, there was only one left, so...
I assume it is at this point.
So there might
the
be...
first person who listens to this podcast is like... Bing!
But yeah, by the time you hear this, that will, I'm sure, be gone.
Freckled Max and the Spooks and In the Moscow Slums were in the mid-50s, probably even lower by the time this is public. And then Felidae approaching ever so closely to the sold-out mark for the deluxe edition. Exciting that these are doing very well for you guys. And
Felidae, in case people are like, well, that one came out a while ago, we printed about twice as many of those as we usually do, so that's why it's lasted longer. But those won't last very long. I think there's like 70 left.
Right.
Yeah, we're really pleased and surprised that The Tragedy of Man sold out so quickly. Soviet Animation Volume 1. Freckled Max. We love Freckled Max and the Spooks. People, we've gotten really wonderful feedback from people who've seen it, and they're like, oh, this is such a kind of bittersweet, lovely take on classic monsters. And so I'm really glad that people have responded to it, and it's almost sold out. We're hoping to put out more of Yuri Yakubishko's work in the not too distant future. He did some amazing experimental surrealist features in the late 60s and then on into the 70s and 80s, and was often compared to Fellini for the kind of surreal kind of poetry and imagery in his films, which I think is a very good comparison. And he was friends with Fellini, loved Fellini's work. So I'm really hoping that this is the first taste of Yakubishko's work, and that we can share a lot more. We're just waiting to get confirmation on restoration of one of his earliest films that we really love and want to put out.
Yeah, that would be excellent. Man, I'm so stoked to talk about today's title because, as you were just talking about, like sweet takes on things, and 1942 Sirius is a sweet take on time travel that I cannot wait to hear Dennis heap 74 different adjectives on. Dennis,
it is basically somewhere in time. If they went back in time to 1942 and made somewhere in time in Hungary during the Second World War, it is so similar in its mix of kind of fantasy, time travel, and overwhelming kind of romanticism.
Yes.
It may be the most wildly over the top romantic movie that we've put out so far with Deaf Crocodile. I have to think about that, but
I think that's pretty safe.
It's really romantic in a wonderful, wonderful way. And it was restored recently by our good friends at the National Film Institute Film Archive in Budapest, Hungary, who we have worked with a number of times before on Bubble Bath, which you just mentioned, Heroic Times, on Max Cafogo, Cat City. We actually have some news about a deluxe re-release of that next year with a big surprise. Can talk about later. So we love working with the NFI, and they do fantastic work. And they, had shared for a brief period online a restoration with people in the archival film world of Sirius, and we watched it and immediately fell in love with it, and literally emailed them as I was watching it. I was like, "Are North American rights available to this?" And they were like, "Yes." And I was like, "Well, we'd love to put it out with you." So basically, it's the story of a kind of, handsome Hungarian playboy who's portrayed by Laszlo Zilasi, who is let's just say he's very fond of himself. He's got a big ego, and he meets a kind of lovable, classic, mad scientist who says, "I've invented a time travel machine." And kind of on a lark, the playboy decides, "Okay, I'll get in this, machine with him," which looks like something out of Flash Gordon, kind of this great silvery gyrocopter like space time travel machine. And lo and behold, they travel back 200 years into the past, where the playboy meets his ancestors. He meets famous characters from Hungarian history, politics and the arts. And most importantly, he falls in love with a penniless opera singer who was played by the great Hungarian diva Katalin Karadi, who had an incredible life story. I was fortunate to do an interview with our dear friend Georgi Raduli, who is head of the NFI Film Archive. And he goes into a lot of detail about Karadi's amazing career. She was one of the first great kind of divas in Hungarian cinema and music. She was a really popular singer in the 1940s. And maybe most remarkably, she helped save the life of a number of Hungarian Jewish children who were about to be executed along the Danube River. And she was able to help them escape. She was brutally tortured by the Nazis during the war. After the war, she essentially retired from the film industry, and she eventually emigrated to the United States, where I think she was a milliner. I think she made hats towards the end of her life. This is one of her finest performances. And after she died, she was posthumously honored by the Yad Vashem, which is Israel's official memorial to victims of the Holocaust, for her work risking her life to save the lives of these children. I mean, she really was a real life hero. And I think it's wonderful that we're able to share this film as well as her remarkable life story, for which she should be known and celebrated for her actions. She used her fame and her charisma to do something really remarkable, which is to save the lives of innocent victims. So we're overjoyed that we were able to collaborate with the NFI on bringing this film. They did a beautiful job at the restoration. It was gorgeous black and white cinematography, and it's just really a joy to watch. And if you like Somewhere in Time, the wonderful Jeannot Swark directed film starring Jane Seymour and Christopher Reeve, and if you don't like Somewhere in Time, we don't want to talk to you. Richard Matheson, wonderful screenplay by the great writer of I Am Legend and Incredible Shrinking Man and many, many other sci-fi classics.
Yeah. I absolutely love Somewhere in Time, and when we got Sirius and got a screener link, I was like, this is Somewhere in Time, but like 40 years earlier. And this is the film where I think we've discussed it before, where we're talking about like, well, what's a Deaf Crocodile film? Does this fit in our, kind of library? And this is the one where we're like, well, Dennis and I both love it, so that makes it a Deaf Crocodile film.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, it is so charming and it is so romantic, and I don't want to say it's predictable, but it's you kind of know or hope, obviously, spoiler alert, that the two lovers will find a way to unite somewhere in time, whether it's in the past or the present. And it is so satisfying, that it's so lush and it's so charming, and the two leads are so charismatic. They have such great chemistry on screen, so it's a joy. It's just a joy, I think, to watch. So we hope people fall in love with it as much as we have.
It is incredible in black and white. There's a lot of really great scenery choices here that just pop with this restoration. Incredible work there. You mentioned the interview with Georgi Raduli, and I got to admit, I think the one on this disc is one of the better interviews that you've ever done, Dennis, which is saying a lot because you do some really great stuff. But this one, like, just the touching aspect on Karate's career is like, it's really crazy to hear how you can make such an impact and then afterwards make an even larger impact in such a different way. And you could tell, there's just like some semblance of pride that you're associated with this individual coming from you and from Georgi. And it's, an incredible conversation.
Yeah, Georgi's love of cinema and the history of Hungarian cinema in particular is infectious.
Absolutely.
When I was out there for the work I was doing on Satan Tango, I was lucky enough to get to go to dinner with Georgi, and then he drove me around the city and was showing me, like, well, that's where the studio first was, and I just got this great little tour, and he loves what he does so much. He is literally, there couldn't be a better person in the position he's in there at the NFI. And listening to him talk about it is great. So hopefully we'll be able to interview him for all the Hungarian cinema that we ever put out.
Well, and Ryan, you and Will contributed another stellar visual essay. So what did you think when you first watched Sirius?
I mean, the big thing is I really enjoy some of these older sci-fi films that you could tell they, some of these things that don't exist, that they're just like, well, how would we envision this looking? And so let's make something fun out of it. And a couple of the scenes early in this just immediately get taken as somebody that, a lot of us that are in this field in any sort of way, at one point we've wanted to make movies, and you could see yourself making choices that lead to something like what they put in this movie. And I love so much about time travel films that I was so ready for something unique, and this film delivers that in spades. I mean, the jokes that happen in this movie are incredible. The dialogue is so witty. It's just an incredible, just put together piece. Like, I could not heap enough praise on this. I think this is going to certainly maybe feel like a little bit of an outlier in the Deaf Crocodile catalog. However, I think that fans of the label will have tons of things to grab onto because it is a unique movie that needed to be rescued. This is not something that has seen wide American audiences ever, I don't think.
I don't think it ever got released here.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when it came out, obviously it was during the Second World War, and so they weren't really able to import films, and then I don't think it ever saw a release after the war.
Yeah, so this is a big deal, and to rescue a film like this that has the pedigree of like the level of individuals that were in this film were huge at the time, and this is one that people are going to appreciate. It is something that will shine whether you love sci-fi, whether you love romance films, or whether you love just quirky off the wall foreign features, because this kind of has all of it.
And if I should get all the credit for rescuing the film, we're just helping spread the word.
Yeah, we were just really this one. We there are a lot of films we put out where we will track them down, we will arrange to have the material scanned, we'll restore it. This is not the case. This is really a testament to the wonderful work that the National Film Institute in Hungary does. And I have to say, they kind of set the gold standard in terms of archival restoration work. Consistently, some of the very finest restorations that we see come out of the NFI. So I cannot say enough great things about their work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they even, this is amazing. The things that are held in their archive. In the mid 1980s, someone donated some 9.5 millimeter amateur film reels to the NFI. Now, 9.5 is a film format not used that much here in the United States. Was more popular as a home movie format. 8 millimeter, super 8 millimeter were much more common here. 9.5 millimeter was more common in England and in the continent. But they got some reels donated in the mid 80s, and they had just sat there for a long time. And then finally, a few years ago, somebody looked at them, they scanned them, and they realized that some of the footage was actually shot behind the scenes during the making of Sirius by a 19-year-old film studio trainee. So it's only it's about 3 minutes that show the lead actors and, the kind of, behind the scenes. But the fact that it even survives from this, really wonderful and rare sci-fi romance from the early 40s is fantastic. So
yeah, because it wasn't like an intentional, we're going to shoot some behind the scenes stuff. It's just this kid had the camera and was on the set and shot some footage, and 40 plus years later it resurfaced in a collection, and then another 20 plus years later they're like, hey, this is from Sirius. Yeah,
they were able to connect it with this wonderful Ákos Hamza, who was the director and was a very well known and prolific Hungarian filmmaker at this period, and this is, I think, one of his finest movies. Really entertaining. Back to the Future is the other one. Georgi mentioned that, and it's true. There are a lot of kind of parallels to Back to the Future as well, where you're going into the past, and will your actions there potentially impact the future, and will you remain in the past, or will you be able to return to the future, the present? So I just think it's a wonderful little movie in and of itself, a wonderful film, but also because it has kind of unique parallels to these two later famous films, Somewhere in Time and the Back to the Future trilogy. So
Absolutely. The rest of the package, we got, of course, a booklet with some incredible essays in it. As usual, Walt Shaw is represented here. And then I believe the other one is Rolf on this one, right, Craig?
I believe that's correct, right, Dennis?
Yes, we have a wonderful essay by German film historian Rolf Giesen, who has been contributing to a number of our releases recently. And he has an unbelievably encyclopedic knowledge of European filmmaking, and the facts and connections he's able to come up with are just really astonishing. And we love Walter Shaw's writing. It's just every time he submits an essay, it's just such a pleasure to read how he uses language to describe movies. I have to say, this one, the slipcase artwork, is astonishing, by Richard Cox. Craig, can you talk about how you discovered Richard's work?
I've known Richard for a long time. God, it must have been, I don't know how long I did it, but probably close to 10 years. I kind of worked as a sales rep for different artists as the kind of the go-between to get commission work for them and whatnot. And that's how I really got to know Richard. Loved his work I always have. It's just, I reached out to him when I saw it. I was like, hey, can I help you get some work? And I know he's always wanted to do movie poster artwork. And years ago when I worked at IMAX, we were actually able to get him a gig with IMAX to do they were going to hand out mini posters at the theaters, and they had commissioned him to do a piece for, I can't remember, it was one of the Underworld films. And the scheduling was so tight that he turned it in, and it was fantastic, and they loved it. They didn't have time to print it in time to get him to the theaters, so it ended up not happening. And I felt bad. He got to do it and he got paid for it, but no one saw it. And I've always kind of been in the back of my mind thinking, like, when we have a project that would line up well with his style of artwork, I was definitely going to reach out to him. And this one, I immediately was like, Richard will nail this out of the park. And so I reached out to him and said, hey, we got a film coming out. Can you do a cover for us? And he was absolutely thrilled to do it. And I wasn't wrong. It's pretty astonishing. The amount of detail. He did it in a kind of an ink wash style, which you might think wouldn't lend itself to fine detail, but that's what Richard's so amazing at. So yeah, once people see this, he loves doing intricate like lace and bead work on clothing, and he designs it all himself. So like the clothing and stuff he went to town on. It's absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait for people to see it.
Yeah, we definitely want to work with Richard again. It reminds me in some ways of the beautiful black and white artwork for The Outcasts. For the deluxe slip cover of that, the Irish folk horror film that we released last fall. So, and I have to give Craig so much credit because he loves researching and reaching out to artists, illustrators, and it is a conscious decision to work with different illustrators and experiment and find, fit and kind of work really well with the film itself and the imagery and the symbolism. I know there are some labels that have a kind of a house style, and so a lot of the artwork looks very similar. Ours is very eclectic, and that's a conscious decision because we love, Craig in particular, loves working with illustrators, artists, graphic designers, and each time we are talking about a release, it's like, okay, who would be good for this? And he's always bringing in new ideas as well. I mean, we love working, over and over again. Tony Stella, who's done all the Petrushka releases, which we have another one coming out in 2026, and fingers crossed we'll get Tony to do that one as well. Hopefully, it would be amazing. And he did the inflatable sex doll artwork and the Shara Mokri, and we love Tony's work. So there are those that we go back to again and again.
He's getting harder and harder to get though because he's so busy now.
I know. That's the thing is some of these artists are like now. I hope it happens with Richard Cox. He should be.
Oh, his talent is incredible.
Yeah.
He would be able to have done more in just his artwork. But I'm pretty sure he has a full-time gig that he actually enjoys that includes benefits. Working as an independent artist, you don't get insurance. But yeah, it's certainly not from a lack of talent. He's got incredible talent, and we do have a couple more titles already lined up he's going to do for us. So I'm super, super excited to see what he comes up with. Because, this one for Sirius is a grayscale, black and white ink wash. But there is something coming up he'll be doing color with, and his color work is just as astonishing.
And I have to say, Craig was sharing the work in progress for Sirius, and literally I was cranking my jaw off the floor, and one of the work in progress images was so stunning that we've included it as the inside of the
standard edition, the wrap.
Edition wrap.
If the inside will be the work in progress he was doing. So,
which I think might be the first time we've actually done that, where we put a work in progress of the art, because it was like, oh, this looks great.
Yeah. Richard is amazing. We'll have to get him on the podcast. Maybe the next one the cover when that one is the.
Or maybe we could do
is the subject
artists.
Oh, that would be fun. Get a bunch of artists on for one podcast.
Yeah.
Just hear them all.
Haley Buck, who does
hear them all talking. Oh shit! Yeah, no,
we got to do that. The treasures of Soviet animation. Oh my god! Every time we see one of her artworks, we're like, oh my god, that's stunning. The one for the Lev Adamonov series collection with the Snow Queen, Scarlet Flower, and the Key is gorgeous. The Mystery of the Third Planet, The Past's Return, Volume 1 is amazing, and what she has come up with for the Volume 3, the Yuri Norstein shorts in December, is just amazing.
She and Beth both have done an incredible job of being able to take, because each one of those Soviet sets is multiple films, and sometimes with wildly different styles. And that's an incredibly difficult task to create a piece of artwork that can incorporate such diverse things and not make it look like you're just pasting different ideas. Like they've both come up with a design that incorporates all the different films, and it looks like a cohesive single piece of art. And I sure as hell couldn't do that. They do an amazing job doing that.
Yeah, Beth Morris is our in-house graphic designer, and so she does The standard wrap designs for all of our releases, basically, as well as assembling all of the materials together, which is takes so much patience and artistry.
Yeah, the booklet the wrap,
design and layout and all of that. And then she will often do slipcase designs as well. So we love working with Beth. She's based in Cardiff, Wales, and she's been phenomenal. So, like, oh my God, all praise to Beth Morris. She's amazing. And then the other thing I should mention for Sirius is we have an amazing audio commentary by our great friend Steve Bissett, who has contributed to many of our releases, the Patushko releases in particular. He is, of course, very well known himself, incredibly acclaimed as an artist in the field of comics. Swamp Thing is possibly what he's best known for, but he's also a very noted film historian. Has written numerous articles and contributed to books about film history, especially genre cinema. He loves cryptozoology related films as well, of the Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, Abominable Snowman variety.
Yeah, he wrote a massive tome on The Brood, the film. And just at San Diego Comic-Con, he was just inducted to the Eisner Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Steve.
Yeah, oh my God, huge congrats.
Well-deserved.
Yeah, oh no. You want to talk about a man of many talents and myriad interests. That is definitely Steve Bissett. So when we watched this, knowing his love for genre cinema, we reached out to him and he was like, yes, I would love to talk about this. And he does such exhaustive research. He has a kind of behind the scenes team of friends and researchers who will dig up incredible information. So we just love listening to all of his commentaries. And
yeah, I mean, for the DEFA sci-fi set, he even took a road trip. He lives in Vermont, and he took a road trip to Boston,
to Massachusetts, to Amherst, where the DEFA film library is.
So he could, he could record. I'm blanking on the woman's name. She was Maria. She was fantastic. So he could record her talking about the films. Like, yeah, he goes well above and beyond.
Yeah. Well, and the other great thing about Sirius is that sort of metaphorically and literally it's pushing the clock back for us in terms of starting to explore earlier eras and decades in film history, which is something we have been wanting to do for a while. And then we're going to go back even further the following month because we're putting out the two wonderful German silent horror films directed by Henrik Galeen, Alraune, and a student of Prague, working with our great friend Stefan Dressler and the Munich Film Museum, who have done an astonishing job in terms of preserving and restoring these and thousands of other rare films. We are going to be doing another really big release with the Munich Film Museum next year in 2026 for fans of Henrik Galeen and Paul Wegener's work together. One of the most famous German genre films of the 1920s. And in fact, it will be about a trilogy of films on the same character. And it's going to be amazing. A lot of incredibly rare material. So we're super excited about that.
I was really blown away by The Student of Prague. Like, I think Alraune probably gets more press and love. And it's amazing, absolutely. But when I watched both of them, Student of Prague really, really blew me away. The villain who plays the devil is incredible. and listening to the Chris Horak's commentary, it sounds like he was a real life villain. Um, but yeah, the camera work, like the visual effect of his doppelganger stepping out of the mirror, to pull that off as beautifully as they did in 1926, 27, whatever it was. Yeah, it's incredible. Like, you know, it definitely makes you realize, like, the crutches that modern filmmakers use and just try to do everything in CGI, when, you know, in the 1920s they had a man stepping out of a mirror, all done practically on the set, and looks absolutely realistic. It's really, you know, the practical effects can be incredible, and like, that may be a simple effect, but it was done really, really well.
Well, and I guess this is would be a good time to say that that Sirius will have a kind of a companion film. We're going to be releasing in January another amazing 1940s black and white Eastern European kind of genre hybrid. It is a combination of science fiction, atomic bomb, paranoia, and film noir. Completely unique. I don't think there's any other film that sort of combines these elements. It's an incredible Czech film called Crocodile that we've kind of teased on our Discord page, where if you're a member, you get access, and there, I have to say, amazing conversations that have been going on about many topics on the Discord groups. But Crocodile has been beautifully restored by the Narodny Film Archive, actually in collaboration with the NFI in Hungary. So there's a connection there as well. And we're going to be releasing it in 4K UHD plus Blu-ray because they provided an amazing 4K restoration. And
that 4K restoration was done from the original negative. So it's a 1940s nitrate 35 4K. It's and the visuals in this film, I mean, not only are you getting a 4K restoration from the original negative, but what's on that negative is so incredibly beautiful. And I was just working with the files yesterday, and the soundtrack, the score on this film is like, I'm really excited about this one. It's visually and sonically, and then it's got this cool noir, like, fever dream story.
It is a literal fever dream.
Like the film starts and says that the film takes place during a fever dream. So
it's got a physicist, a chemist who is essentially created an atomic bomb, and is suffering from brain fever during the movie, and desperately trying to remember what he did with the formula and who has hold of it. And so it has elements of DOA, where you've got this sort of feverish kind of, possibly dying man racing against the clock to figure out what happened. It has elements of kind of Orson Welles's 1940s films like The Stranger and Lady from Shanghai in terms of the surreal visuals. Hitchcock's Spellbound. It's a really remarkable discovery. We're so excited for people to experience this one, especially in 4K. So that's going to come out in January. in collaboration with the NFA, Narodny Film Archive, who we have worked with on a number of our releases, including the Oldrich Lipsky, Jerzy Berdeczka films, Mysterious Castle in the Carpathians, and Adela Has Not Had Supper, The Golden Fern, and in fact, we have a whole bunch of amazing films that we're going to be working with the NFA on, including some incredibly rare Czech silent genre films. So next year we will have 2 separate major releases of packages of silent genre films, one from Czechia working with the NFA, and then another really major one working with the Munich Film Museum of German silent genre films. So we're super excited that we're starting to be able to put out some of these great packages of rare silent cinema.
And I'm thinking by 2026, people will stop trying to pigeonhole what we put out. Because 24 was like, oh, they're the Russian film company, and 25 they're like, oh, they put out all the animated films. But by 26, hopefully they'll just be like, yeah, they put out really cool stuff, and leave it at that.
I have to say, I am so excited for people to dig into the Tuvo Tullio set, 3x2 Tullio with Sensuela, Cross of Love, and Restless Blood. I mean, I'm already like, can we do a volume 2? Because rewatching the films and then reading the essays and hearing the commentaries, and everyone who's collaborated with us on this 3-film set coming out this November is like, I have fallen madly in love with Tuvo Tullio's films, which are wildly surreal and intense melodramas in a kind of crazed Douglas Sirk / Fassbinder vein. So for anyone but they're also uniquely Finnish and mad and wonderful. And Sensuela, which was his last film, and his kind of Russ Meyer meets Anna Biller meets early John Waters kind of sexploitation, reindeer herding epic is just unbelievable. It's sort of like, I think, the gateway drug, but it's also in a weird way, it's sort of the capstone. It was his last film and is an outlier in his career because he was most famous for making these really beautiful, intense sort of film noir, German expressionist tinged melodramas in the 40s and 50s. And we're including 2 of those, Cross of Love and Restless Blood, both starring the amazing actress Regina Linnenheimo, and was also a screenwriter who worked with Tuvo Tullio, co-writing a number of the scripts. So she was amazingly talented in her own right. And I'm really hoping that we kind of kickstart both a Tuvo Tullio fan base and a Regina Linnenheimo fan club, because she is incredible. She's sort of like, she's got a kind of Jenna Rollins meets Liz Scott meets Betty Davis kind of vibe, and she is amazing. And starred in most of his films. She was the one with the glasses, right? Yes. Yeah. So in Restless Blood, she wears these amazing dark shades. She was the entire incredible in that film. God, she's like Peter Lorre in Mad Love, like a female Peter Lorre in Mad Love, if you can imagine that. So we are super, super excited. And if it does well, we're really hoping we could work with Kavi, the National Audiovisual Institute of Finland, on a second or even third volume. Tullio did not make that many films, but the ones he made are really addictive. And I think once people watch these 3, they're going to be like, okay, what else? Like, what more can I see? Yeah, I'm just scrolling through our Blu-ray release schedule, and it's
fucking nuts.
That's what I was about to talk about. I mean,
I was like, holy shit.
after we skipped shipping anything in August, it was from September on, this is going to be an intense time for Deaf Crocodile. There is so much coming up.
Oh my God. Well, I guess we have sort of teased this one online as well. But I don't know if we have formally announced that we're going to be putting out another incredible animated feature by the great Hungarian director Marcel Jankovic, following on The Tragedy of Man, which we just released. We're going to be putting out The Song of the Miraculous Hind, which is amazing. He actually made it while he was in production for 23 years on and off on The Tragedy of Man. So he actually went out and did several other projects, including an entire feature film, The Song of the Miraculous Hind, which is his amazingly ambitious attempt to kind of cover like 50,000 years in Hungarian and Magyar culture, going back to kind of the Ice Age and then, through the early Middle Ages. And if you're a fan of his work on Son of the White Mare, on Johnny Corncob, and Tragedy of Man, you will absolutely adore Song of the Miraculous Hind. It is prime Marcel Jankovic and is filled with so much stunning imagery. It's almost an overload, like Tragedy of Man. Like every frame you're watching is like, oh my God, I want that on my wall. I want that on my wall. So,
and people are, always wanting things in 4K. So that will also be a 4K release.
That will also be a 4K release.
So looking at the schedule, that's 2 months in a row with a 4K release.
Jeez.
It actually is going to be 3 months in a row.
I'm sorry, you're right. 3 months in a row.
It's going to be 3 months in a row because this, I think we have also teased online, but we may as well confirm, is we're doing a 4K restoration of the incredible Estonian kind of sci-fi giallo thriller mashup, Dead Mountaineers Hotel. Which is based on a novel by the Strugatsky brothers, whose work was also adapted as Stalker and Hard to Be a God, two very famous films. And it's set in a remote mountain hotel that's cut off by an avalanche, with really eerie parallels to The Shining, which came out about a year later. The opening of the two films is really, really similar.
It's kind of shockingly similar. I had to look.
Shockingly similar.
I mean, I had to look, and I'm like, you almost have to think Kubrick saw this film because he made his film like a year later, and it's a helicopter shot following a car going up a mountain to a hotel. Like, it's the same shot.
It's fantastic. And that's a film that we pursued for years. I mean, literally 6 years. And finally, working with our friends at the Estonian Film Institute, we're going to be doing a new 4K restoration of the film. And it's going to look and sound amazing. So we actually have 3 months of 4K UHD plus Blu-ray combo releases coming out, with Crocodile in January, Song of the Miraculous Hind in February, and then Dead Mountaineers Hotel in March. So I encourage people to...
And then you only get 1 month off, and then we get another 4K release. So.
Oh, geez. That's true.
So yeah, like we've said, long ago when people were like, are you going to put up more 4K? And our answer is still when it makes sense. If we've got 4K materials and, it makes financial sense, and the materials, like we were saying with Crocodile, it's a 4K restoration from the OCN. It makes sense to do 4K. So yeah, it's just a combination of we're getting materials and titles that make sense to do it. But still, not everything's going to be 4K because a lot of times either materials don't exist or it just doesn't financially make sense.
Well, and when you say a month off, actually that month we're putting out a 5-film box set, which will be our longest.
That is true. It's not 4K. It's not 4K, but it is a 5-film set.
It is a 5-film box set.
Yeah. It's a busy schedule ahead of us.
Yeah. So I really encourage people to either sign up for the next subscription and or become a member, because you get a huge discount on essentially Deaf Croc dollars. Because we have a lot of amazing stuff, and that's just the first 4 months, and we didn't even tell you everything that we're putting out. We left out some films in the first part because we're doing multiple releases, which I guess we could talk about on the next episode, so people don't get like brain fever like the guy in Krakatoa and go, oh my god.
Yeah, most months, not every month, but most months going forward is a 2-release month.
Well, and it's either a 2-release month or a
5-film box set. Yeah.
Or like in the case in October, it's both.
Yeah. Okay. So there is one. Okay, because I teased it earlier, so I guess I have to pay off on that. I mentioned Cat City. For everyone who's been waiting for us to reprint Cat City, we are going
a lot of people have been emailing saying, "Hey, Cat City's out of print. Is it coming back?"
Bela Tarnowski, is it coming back? Yes, it is coming back. But as with the Jerzy Barta set that we just put out, we're not just going to reprint it. We're going to reprint it with the sequel. See, you can't word it that way. Oh, okay.
The sequel is coming out, and we're going to include the original in the package, because otherwise people get very upset.
Okay, you're right. Because they'll be like, "Oh, you're making me buy Cat City all over again."
No, you're buying Cat City 2, and it includes Cat City.
Yeah, we're releasing Cat City 2, and it includes.
Pay no attention to what the packaging says. That's what it is.
Yes. So we're very excited. We had actually kind of looked into it initially when we did the first one, and it just wasn't available. We couldn't get in touch with the producers of the second film, and then
it's different rights holders than the first film.
So we finally did, and they were very excited, and they said, "Oh no, that makes perfect sense. It would be great for you to do a deluxe edition with both films." So we are going to be doing that, and it will be Cat City 2 plus the original Cat.
Just adding to the Cat film universe.
And I don't know if Dennis saw it yet, but I sent him an email just before we started. I found somebody was kind enough to put together a list online of animated cat films. And I went through the list, and there were about 5 or 6 in there that I wasn't aware of that sounded pretty good. So I sent Dennis the list. So we might be able to keep this animated cat film thing going for a while.
Well, Cat City 2 is not the only additional animated cat movie that we have coming out next year. I will just say that. We already have another. So we have 2 new ones to add to all. Oh, no, we actually have 3.
I was 3, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Tamala 2030, Punk Cat in Dark, which has been announced. We're co-releasing with our great friends at Cartoona in Brooklyn, New York City area. So that's actually 3. I won't say yet what the second of the 3 films are, but we do have 3.
Yeah, we have to leave something for future podcasts.
Oh my god. The problem is that we now have so much lined up for 2026. I'm like, but where are we going to put this, and where are we going to put that? And we signed this, and we've got this one coming. So we're now really like looking at early 2027 for some of these films that we're like, oh, I can't wait for people to see this.
Yeah, we made a huge scheduling faux pas by scheduling. Was it 3 major restorations back to back to back, and learned from that mistake. And so we've been figuring out the scheduling of our releases and trying to spread out the films that we restore in-house. And then we're able to fill in the others with either newer films that don't need restoration or films that we're, stuff like we get from the NFI that's already restored, to fill in the gaps in between. Because the restorations we do in-house just take an incredible amount of time and resources, and we can't do them back to back. So our in-house restorations will be spread out every 2-3 months instead of you won't see 2 in a row again. You certainly won't see 3 in a row.
Yeah. But I hope that people are really going to be excited when they see Soviet Animation Volume 2 with the 3 Lev Atamanov films, especially to finally see the Snow Queen, which is really one of the crown jewels of world animation. So beautifully restored. When there have been
all three of them are
crummy. There have been really kind of crummy substandard versions floating around on the web for many years. The Scarlet Flower and the Key.
And the key in particular, that element was the color just was kind of didn't look right. And Tyler did his first pass and it was much better. But he and I both were like, it still doesn't seem quite right. And it was probably had to do with how the element had aged and faded. So Tyler, being Tyler, basically started from scratch and regraded it all over again, and figured out a way to get those colors to pop, and it's extraordinary. I saw he was like, because he had sent me basically sent me the whole film. And I had given him a few notes here and there, and then he came back and he was like, you know what, I just did it all over again. And I was like, oh, wow, like, it's gorgeous. He's just incredible. We're so lucky to have him be able to do color grading for us.
Well, I'm also going to say something which I think, long-term physical media collectors know, and Ryan, I'm sure you're aware of. But our license periods on these films are limited to, anywhere from, say, 5 to 10 years max. And there's no guarantee that we will be able to renew them or that there's enough of a financial incentive for us to re-up the rights. So buy the discs now, because they could go out of print at some point when our licenses expire, and there's no guarantee that our restorations will ever show up again. Like, a lot of these films are only available because, we're taking the time, and Craig has the incredible artistry and expertise to restore these films. So I really encourage people, and the same way, with a lot of other boutique labels, where I'm like, oh my God, I have to have this, because who knows in 5 years or 7 years if it's going to disappear. So I really encourage people to invest in films if they love them and want to see them, because it's not guaranteed that they're going to be available in perpetuity forever.
Right. We're not putting out big popular studio films that you realize, like, okay, a great release might come out and it might go out of print, but it will come out again. Like, you haven't got to worry. Like, if you wait, it'll come out again. The stuff we put out, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, like, it's someone going to go to, the time and expense of re-releasing a Benny's Bathtub or a Unknown Man of Shandagore or, so many of the films that we've put out, the Time of Roses that we really love and put time and effort into restoring and re-releasing. So I really encourage people to snap them up while they can.
For many of these, I mean, it took decades to even get this first release. To even think that it would be considered for a second release is quite unlikely in most situations.
Well, particularly because we're licensing North American rights, which is usually the largest market. So for someone else to put it out, they're going to look at it the same way we look at things. We're like, well, has it already had a Blu-ray release in North America? Because if so, a lot of those folks already bought it, So you're really limited to who's going to buy it if you want to put it out again. So that's the chances of most of our titles getting released again by somebody else, if ours goes out of print, not very good.
No, and it's also kind of instructive that most of the films that we've restored and put out have not come out again in other markets, following our releases. So you're not seeing multiple releases of these movies overseas,
right?
Because
we only have North American rights on most of our titles. So it's telling that no other labels have picked them up. Like if they wanted to, they would have.
Yeah, like our restoration of Jerzy Barta's The Pied Piper, and now his wonderful short films has not been released on Blu-ray anywhere else. So if you want to see Craig's incredible restoration, which Jerzy himself is like, oh my God, it finally looks like I wanted it to look like, you got to buy our releases. So, and I kind of feel the same way, when I see these amazing packages from Eureka or Severin or, I in fact, I sent an email the other day to David Gregory. Hopefully he got it Severin. I watched Il Demonio, this amazing early 60s black and white Italian film about a woman who's played brilliantly by Dalia Lavi, who thinks she's possessed by the devil and has the ability to curse her the guy that she has a massive crush on, her ex-lover. And it's an amazing movie, which I don't think ever surfaced here before. Scathing portrait of kind of rural superstition, prejudice, the awful impact of the church in rural areas in Italy. And we were watching the film, my wife and I was like, oh my God, how did they get this movie made in Italy in the 1960s? Because it basically savages every institution, right, in the entire society at the time. And this poor, demented woman who's played by Dalia Lavi is, again, amazing. But I was like, is anyone going to release this film again on Blu-ray? We're now seeing, oh my God, so many multiple 4K UHD upgrades of Mario Bava's films, which I adore Mario Bava's movies. I was, fortunate in the early 1990s, that we kind of helped bring his movies to Los Angeles, and when they were starting to screen again for the very first time ever, guys like Tim Lucas and Joe Dante and the late Alan Upchurch, who had been at the forefront of, promoting Bava's work and the work of Margheriti and Freda and all these other wonderful Italian kind of pulp masters. But now we're seeing so many upgrades of Bava's filmography, which is fantastic. But we're not going to see that for the majority of other movies that are being released out there. So, it really is like, if you want it, you should buy it now, because in a couple of years, it may go out of print and it won't come. There's no guarantee it will go back into print. And certainly for our restorations, in all likelihood, those restorations, which are kind of studio level, thanks to Craig, are not going to come out again unless we re-release them.
Or if they ever come out, damn you, Assault on Precinct 13.
Right.
We have no control over that.
I know.
We have no control over that.
It's been so long now. It's like the emails have finally stopped coming. I mean, I used to get emails every week, sometimes several a week. Like, when's Assault on Precinct 13 coming out? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, they've waited so long. I guess next year is its anniversary. So if it doesn't come out next year, I don't know.
I mean, God bless Joe Kaufman, dear friend of mine, who executive produced the horror film that I directed in Ireland, Nails, a few years ago. He spent money essentially out of his own pocket to do the beautiful restoration of Assault on Precinct 13 because he wanted to see it preserved and restored. So I don't think it's Joe. I think it's, whatever the discussions are with Shout Factory, who have
lawyers,
the rights to it, and lawyers and whatever. But hey, Joe took the bull by the horns, as they say, and spent the money, a lot of money out of his own pocket to do it right. So hats off to Joe. The film has been beautifully preserved. It will come out at some point.
And it was
physical media in 4K UHD.
That damaged reel, we were able to fix it because he had one of the few original prints. It was a print off the original negative that he had before the negative had gotten ruined. And the negative got ruined because they were making prints from the original negative, which they shouldn't have been doing. So we were able to combine that print element with the dupe element because the color was gone. So anyway, it was a lot of work, and Joe put a lot of money and resources into getting it done. So it's got to come out at some point.
Yeah. Well, this is a conversation for another time because it's a much bigger conversation. But that there's now a tremendous amount of restoration and preservation work that is being done kind of in parallel or outside of the archival world. I am the hugest fan of film archives. We work with them all the time. I think people who work at UCLA, Film and TV Archive, the Academy Film Archive, MoMA, who we're collaborating with now in a restoration for next year. And then all the people overseas at the BFI, at the NFI in Hungary, the NFA in Prague, all of our partners, Kavi in Finland. They're all superheroes. But there is now a tremendous amount of preservation and restoration work being done by boutique labels and distributors like ourselves. And we now have our own archive of studio-level restorations of films that we've acquired that are now archived on LTO tape, but there is no centralized archival preservation for these, which means that it's up to all these small individual labels or rights holders in the case of like Assault on Precinct 13. And if people think that there is some great hive mind or overmind that's looking after all these films, there ain't. It's a bunch of, passionate weirdos and film geeks and film lovers that are trying to preserve these. And there really should be some way to preserve a lot of these restorations that are happening, because we're in many cases doing the work for the rights holders overseas who just don't have the means or the financial incentive or the expertise to do it. But that's a big conversation, and actually would be a great topic to Ryan, to get some of the people from some of the other boutique labels, to get Fran Simeone at Radiance, and to get Jonathan at Fun City, and
because all the restored masters that we have and the other boutique labels they're all digital files. They're a ProRes file. So the upside to that is that transferring or copying that data is easy compared to, cans of negative. The downside is that it's you need to constantly be transferring the data to new media. Because, I've got some stuff on LTO 6. LTO's up to 9 now, I think, and an LTO 9 drive won't be able to read an LTO 6 tape. And that's consistently the problem with digital archiving, is the digital world continues to change, and you've got your stuff archived in an old format that in itself can deteriorate. So it does require an institutional kind of level of care to archive the materials, because it's a lot of work and it can be pricey, and no small companies have that bandwidth of cash or manpower to maintain it indefinitely. So it would be great if we could get, a bunch of labels and find one or more archives that would be willing to take those digital masters and ensure they stay safe and properly archived.
Well, and to throw in a political diatribe with the insane clown car that is now running our federal government, attacking the first public university of UCLA, of which UCLA Film and TV Archive is a part. You don't think that assault on a public educational institution is going to impact every school there, including the film archive, including the medical school?
Yeah, I mean, they may be
all of the amazing departments.
Yeah, they may be rescinding grants from medical research, and they may be suing the university as a whole for $1 billion. But that's going to affect everything at UCLA. Even if a particular lab or whatever doesn't lose their grant, if UCLA ends up having to pay out a bunch of money, they're going to have to, tighten the belt somewhere to make up for it, and
that's going to impact services and
there's
quality
no
of
way,
education and preservation and research and everything. Oh no!
And most archives are working on a string budget already. To tell an archive that's trying to take care of thousands and thousands of elements with like a skeleton crew. Well, we're going to have to lay off half your crew. It's impossible.
Well, before we wrap up, I do want to give a shout out to a couple other labels whose work I watched recently and really loved. Our friend Jonathan at Fun City Editions watched Rancho Deluxe, fantastic Frank Perry directed film starring Jeff Bridges and Sam Waterston, and Slim Pickens from the mid-'70s. Really wonderful to finally see it on physical media. And I think it might be out of print already, but thank you, Jonathan and Fun City for putting that out. And watched Flicker Alley's release of Paul Lenny's Waxworks, phenomenal anthology horror film done in the 1920s, written by Henrik Galeen, who's Iranian student of Prague. We're putting out in October. Also,
he was a busy man.
Co-starring Conrad Veidt in one of the episodes. And really wonderful release, packed with amazing extras. So hats off to our friends at Flicker Alley. We every night we're consuming, supporting, watching stuff from other boutique labels, and always in awe of the amazing work that's going on out there.
Yeah, I just watched Kino's Orca and was...
Oh, I love Orca.
I think I saw it when I was a kid. I just vaguely remember seeing it, but I didn't remember anything about it. It is weirder than I absolutely at all remembered. How much human emotions and whatnot they gave to the orca. I mean, it was kind of like a weird flipping the script on Jaws, where like
Orca's the hero. The killer whale is the protagonist.
Yeah, he's the protagonist. It's like
Richard Harris is the
wild.
It's
wild.
antagonist. You like him because it's Richard Harris, but he's the villain of Orca.
It was
not the hero.
It was a fascinating watch. And then if we're shouting out labels, I was out of town and I just got back to my 4 discs I'd ordered from the Severance sale. 2 Christopher Lee films I'd not seen, Castle of the Living Dead and Crypt of the Vampire.
Oh, yeah.
And then I will watch anything with Dracula. And I don't know much of anything about these, but the beautiful spot gloss slipcases for Dracula versus Frankenstein and Dracula Prisoner of Frankenstein. So I can't wait to watch those.
Good titles. Probably the last thing that I think we should shout out before we call it a day. We just finished up the month of July. So for those that don't follow on social media, wanted to share that we raised through your donations and the check it on the website, almost $375 to donate to the Circle Cinema in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who I still just love their response on social media. We're shocked that this was even a thing, that anybody was going to do that, and I'm sure it will help them.
Yeah, I called them to figure out, because I went to their website to see how I could make the donation, and they were only, it was like an online thing, no matter how I did it, it was going to take, the bank was going to take a chunk. Right. So I called them and I was like, hey, we did this thing on our website. We raised some money for you. And she's like, what? And I'm like, it's not earth shattering money. She's like, for a nonprofit, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. So we just had our bank mail them a check so that no one would take any of that money.
Right.
And this month, all the funds, everything raised is going to go to PBS because again of the clown.
Speaking of the clown car.
Speaking of the clown that's running the country right now, just decided to completely defund public radio and television. Yeah. And happy to say that we're only 13 days into the month, and we've already raised the same amount we had raised last month. So that should be a good chunk by the end of the month that we'll be able to send PBS's way.
I cannot encourage listeners enough to support their local and national nonprofit arts organizations. I've worked in the nonprofit field in addition to working in for-profit film. I've worked in nonprofit film and arts for almost 3.5 decades, and especially in the climate we are now facing, where you're seeing grants being yanked away that had been promised to organizations being completely shut down, assaulted. It is super important to continue supporting people and organizations in the nonprofit field so that they can survive. And this is coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, where a lot of nonprofits essentially had to go into hibernation and some disappeared completely. So the same way, if you're going out and supporting your local restaurants and small business owners and shops in your area, if there's a local bookstore and you want a book, don't order it from Amazon. Go in and have your local bookstore order it. I just did it recently here in Santa Cruz, and I'm so glad I did. But support your local nonprofits, which is why I'm really glad that we're able to do this in a small way every month through the generosity of our patrons.
Our customers.
It's the buyers, it's the customers.
Yeah. If you're buying anything from us direct from our website at checkout, it gives you the option of adding a donation. and every month we'll have a different nonprofit that will donate the money to. So it's heartening to see how generous people are, that they're buying our product and they're like, you know what? Yeah, I'll throw in a few extra bucks. And yeah, it adds up. Like I'm thrilled that we're going to be able to send somebody a check every month that could really use it.
Yeah, we're living in a period of such institutional and kind of national cruelty that I think it's up to everyone who really cares to respond with generosity and support and kindness and giving wherever possible. Even more than before, because I got to tell you, it was so tough for nonprofits to survive before the pandemic. Margins were so thin. Pandemic happens, and now you have this full frontal assault from the federal government on educational institutions, arts organizations, granting organizations, you name it. So it's really important for people to go out there and support the arts organizations and the nonprofits that you care about and that contribute so much to our culture today.
Yeah, it was interesting that we use Shopify for our online portal, and it had built into it that you could add at checkout, you could add a thing asking for tips, which tipping kind of gotten out of control. I won't even go there, but it's kind of silly. And I was like, why would anyone want to tip us for buying a Blu-ray from us? I was like, that's ridiculous. But then I messaged them and I was like, can we go into the code and change the wording? So it's not a tip, it's a donation. And then we can put in there, explain to people what this is going to. And they're like, yeah, you can do that. And so we're like, well, that makes more sense. We don't need to get a tip when you're buying online shopping. But if we can raise some money for folks, that makes more sense. So I turned something silly into hopefully something positive.
So if you're feeling philanthropic and you're going to check out Sirius, or possibly Sirius and Treasures of Soviet Animation Volume 2, which will now both be shipping in the month of September, public broadcasting will be the charity of choice for the month of August. And as soon as September 1st rolls around, we will have another vote before that in the Discord to find out who's getting the charity for the next month. So keep that in mind.
Another reason to join the Discord.
You can join the Discord.
Without PBS, I would never have experienced Monty Python's Flying Circus back in the 70s. So much of my, early, viewing was from local PBS stations in Pittsburgh area, and then later in New York City. So
just all
we got to support PBS.
Even all the children's programming. This is Bob Ross. I mean,
exactly.
Mr. Rogers, also from Pittsburgh, where I grew
Mr.
up.
Rogers, yeah,
most famously.
It's an essential service, and I mean all the Ken Burns documentaries. To think that that our government feels that that's not necessary.
Oh my God! So much of the reason why we should be proud to be Americans is because of things that PBS have done. So we really are living in bizarro Superman world, as I keep saying. It is, yeah. So, well, Ryan, thank you so much for having us.
Of course,
gab with you about many, many different things.
You know what's funny is, as usual, about 28 minutes today into this, I went, I'm not sure we're going to have much more to talk about. It's now an hour later, and I hope everybody's enjoyed this, and I hope everybody enjoys Sirius and Treasures of Soviet Animation Volume 2, and eager to talk about next month's episode, because, man, discussing 2551 and the silent double feature is going to be a hell of a time.
Yeah, honestly,
I mean, we should block out like 4 hours.
I'm really happy. I'm really happy with all the stuff we've got coming out, but this October is massive.
I hope everyone who is so excited for 2551 is gonna. All I'm going to say is you're going to be blown away. It is one of the most audacious and insane, epic film achievements that we've seen in the past number of years. And I'm still amazed that Norbert and his collaborators had the chutzpah, the mad inspiration to make a trilogy of post-apocalyptic mutant monster films in the abandoned tunnels underneath Vienna. Like even the production alone, like how they were able to shoot all of that, because they had to bring everything into these abandoned World War II tunnels underneath Vienna, and it's amazing.
Incredible.
Oh my God!
We clearly have a lot to discuss on this one.
So much fun. 2551 is incredible,
and that's only one of the releases next month.
An entire disc of bonus features, which we almost ran out of space. We have so many bonus features. We have the VFX artist just delivered an incredible reel where he narrates like 15 minutes of the VFX shots, and it's amazing hearing how they put together some of the digital and practical VFX shots for the films on a minuscule budget. We're talking Norbert's an avant-garde filmmaker. Again, working with government grants and support from various European arts granting institutions to make these movies in Austria. So we're so excited that people are going to get to see these films. Oh my God, I think it's going to blow people's minds. Great. Perfect for October, I got to say.
Perfect for October. We got 5 films we'll be discussing next month, 6 discs, and it's gonna be a good month. We shall discuss then. Craig, Dennis, thanks for hanging out. Everybody have a good, safe month, and we'll talk to you in the month of September.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description